Women's basketball continued its undefeated conference play this weekend, but it did not come without a scare. The Dallas Cowboys lost to the Washington Redskins this week, and they might also lose its starting quarterback. And even though we are weeks away from the start of winter, Jack Frost decided to make an early visit to the Midwest and South. And what's a good way to honor your senior players on senior day? Well, for the men's lacrosse team, a MAC tournament bid will do the trick. People who are taking care of Ebola victims are now becoming the patients. A vehicle was hit in the back by a safety gate Tuesday night by a Metro North train. The Hampden Planning and Zoning Commission is still working on the proposal, and it could be done within the next few days, months, or years. Giovanni Mio, QNN. Hampden's Planning and Zoning Commission is considering forming a college town district, meaning that Hampden would try and purchase off-campus houses from Quinnipiac University. The reason behind this is the sour relationship between the town and Quinnipiac students.
Students choose to live off campus often because they can't afford to live on campus. So what is the town of Hampden going to do? Punish students for not having enough money to pay for housing here?
I think it's really ridiculous. I think that if people want to live off campus, they should be allowed to live off campus.
Over the past few years, residents of Hampden have complained about parties being too loud and vandalism of property. The proposal would try and take college housing from New Road and Lucian Drive.
They just have to talk it out a lot more, figure out a solution that would work for both sides, just meet in the middle somewhere.
Quinnipiac promised the town that 95% of its students would live on campus, but only 80% do. The goal of the proposal is to have students and residents separated to avoid any future problems.
It's a little ridiculous for the Planning and Zoning Commission to suggest that the university needs to have housing for every single student.
They have so many more things they have to consider before they actually put any kind of plan into action. It seems like they're just saying, you know what, these college students are a nuisance. Let's just find the easiest way to get rid of them.
The Hampden Planning and Zoning Commission is still working on the proposal, and it could be done within the next few days, months, or years. Giovanni Mio, QNN. Last year, the Quinnipiac baseball team won a total of 18 games. With 15 regular season games left this season, they've already surpassed last year's win total. The Bobcats are on a roll as of late, too, winning 3 straight games and 5 of their last 6. Quinnipiac currently sits in first place in the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference with a 10-5 record. And what's a good way to honor your senior players on senior day? Well, for the men's lacrosse team, a MAC tournament bid will do the trick. Trailing Monmouth 7-1 at halftime, Quinnipiac came out on the second half guns a-blazing, outscoring the Hawks 6-1 in the second half to win 9-8 last Saturday. The win clinched the Bobcats the second seed in the MAC tournament, while the Marysville Foxes have a top spot. And while baseball and men's lacrosse are having good seasons, the same cannot be said for softball. The team has lost 7 of their past 9 games, which include a 9-1 loss against Holy Cross and getting swept at home by the Manhattan Jaspers by scores of 6-4 and 3-2 this past weekend. Quinnipiac will finish out the weekend with doubleheaders against Hartford, Iona, and Ryder. And the Pittsburgh Penguins are on the brink of elimination after losing to the New York Rangers in overtime 2-1 Wednesday night. Pittsburgh dominated the first period and led 1-0 after 1, but it was the Rangers who ended the game with 2 unanswered goals, including a Kevin Hayes overtime goal. New York would host Pittsburgh Friday night at Madison Square Garden for Game 5. Ice hockey ranks second in the cause for most sports-related concussions. Cheshire High School senior Cooper Moralka knows this all too well. During a hockey game, he suffered a headache while playing. Moralka instantly knew this was no ordinary headache.
A headache is one thing. A normal headache, if you stress, and then there's a headache from a concussion, is a big difference.
Athletes like Moralka are not the only ones who are aware. Cheshire High School athletic director Stephen Trafone has seen an increase in concussions.
You've just increased the number of kids that are playing sports, so that's going to increase the number of concussions.
A study in the American Journal of Sports Medicine found high school football had the highest rate of concussions at 6.4%. Hockey is second with 5.4%, and lacrosse at 4%. Having more youth athletes sounds good, but it could be costly. Athletes are bigger and faster than previous years. Plus, games are more competitive. This leads to students lying to coaches about their injuries.
A big part of it's on the player. Sometimes kids will act like they didn't get hurt and say, I'm not hurt, I just want to go back in the game. A big part of it's on the player, because if the coach doesn't know anything, they can't really do anything.
The state of Connecticut is already implementing ways to prevent concussion increase. A new policy called When in Doubt, Sit Them Out. When coaches see a player suffering from any symptoms of a concussion, they must take them out of the game immediately.
Back when my parents played, they didn't know what really concussions were, so they were just getting hit left and right and didn't know anything about it. But now we have the concussion tests that we take to the school and other stuff with trainers on the spot. So it's definitely increased our awareness of the concussions.
Along with concussion tests, athletes are using more improved gear, like bigger helmets and gloves. Trifone says the upgrades will help awareness more down the road.
As athletic equipment improves, I think we're going to have more success keeping concussions from happening and also better ways of diagnosing them.
Giovanni Mio, Q30 News. Over the weekend, the Quinnipiac men's ice hockey team welcomed a pair of ECAC foes to High Point Solutions Arena. The Bobcats defeated St. Lawrence 2-1 Friday night. They finished the weekend by clinching a first-round bye in the ECAC hockey tournament after defeating the Clarkson Golden Knights 4-1. The team's next game is Friday night against Yale and will be televised on SNY. And the Quinnipiac women's ice hockey team retained its number 5 ranking in the most recent USCHO.com poll. The team split this past weekend, being shut out at St. Lawrence Friday and then turning around and shutting out number 8 ranked Clarkson on Saturday. The team has now maintained a top 5 ranking for 15 straight weeks. Senior men's basketball forward Justin Harris accomplished 2 career feats against conference foe Fairfield last Friday. The 6'8" forward scored a career-high 23 points and made his first career three-pointer in a 60-59 win. The Bobcats were unable to continue its 3-game winning streak Sunday afternoon, losing to the Iona Gales at Lender Court by a score of 60-57. Women's basketball continued its undefeated conference play this weekend, but it did not come without a scare. Trailing with less than 20 seconds remaining in regulation against Canisius, senior Jasmine Martin hit a long 3 to tie the game at 77. Quinnipiac would eventually win in overtime 88-85 and go on to defeat St. Peter's 82-52 this morning.